Hello, Bashar. My name is Jay.
All right, good day.
Yes. So I took one of your webinars a little while back. I don't remember the title, but it had to do with asking us to take a vote
Yes,
around the
around the fifth law.
Yes, correct.
Yes, because there were four, and we realized that in our interaction with many civilizations, one of the subsets of one of the laws perhaps would serve you better if it was spelled out as its own law, which became the law, everything is here and now, to help you remember that the present is where you exist. Yes. And so we asked for your votes as to whether you wanted to keep just the four laws or whether you thought it was helpful to have the fifth law to help clarify things a little bit more. How did you vote?
That yes, this is too short.
All right. And so?
So, and the end, after the vote, you mentioned that, well, in a sense, this was our graduation as a species into being accepted into the, I forget the name, but the collective of...
the Interstellar Alliance.
There we go.
You are, in that sense, approaching the idea of membership. You have an honorary membership, but you are approaching the idea of real active membership over the course of the next several years, yes.
Okay.
But it depends upon how much you align yourself with vibrations that are similar to other beings in that alliance. Yes.
So here's my question.
Here is your question. All right, speak up and be bold,
yes,
so that all may hear what you have to share.
Oh boy, oh boy. So given where we are now,
yes,
what are we contributing? And what could we contribute if we became more for our next step? So it's like two questions, actually. What are we contributing now? We must be contributing something.
Of course you are.
Yes, which is?
Well, you are contributing many things, one of which is the idea, as we originally mentioned, that you chose to experience a great degree of forgetfulness and limitation in your reality as a spirit, so that you could remember who you are. The idea is there are not necessarily, although there are some, not necessarily many worlds that have experienced the same degree or depth of exploration of limitation and darkness as you have chosen to experience on Earth. The idea, therefore, is that this isn't a kindergarten, this is a master graduating class. It takes a strong spirit to go into that depth of limitation and forgetfulness and yet still be capable of remembering who you are and bringing light back into your life. That's highly transformative. We have learned many things about your ways of processing this transformation and have shared this with other civilizations who may also experience challenges, but not necessarily to the same degree that your world is. Thus, then they can look at you and say, well, if they can do it, it's easy for us. You understand?
I do, yes.
All right, so that's
inspiring.
one thing.
And what's our next evolutionary step? What could we give as we go along?
As we already said, being yourself as best as you can is what makes all the difference in the world, because then you become an example of the vibration of a shift and a change that is representative of a desire to expand in a way that allows us to expand together as family and friends, and thus then by being able to interact with you that way, we are expanded as a family. You understand?
Yes.
So you are giving that as well. Does that help?
Yes, that does.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Or shall I say, does that answer your questions?
Thank you, yes.
All right.
I have another.
Oh, all right.
Which is, so is there a ship above us as you're here?
There are ships all over the place all the time. You can't always see them.
From your...
my particular ship myself is still above the area on your planet you call Sedona. But there are other ships from my civilization and other civilizations over your cities in various places at various times, almost all the time. You know, the idea is that there are many comings and goings. And it really depends upon whether you simply have the expansion ability in your senses to perceive that those ships are coming and going all the time. There are many vortex hubs around your planet that ships use to go from one dimension or another. They may be passing through whether they stop or not. The idea is that you can begin to perceive some of them more and more. You may not perceive all of them. But really the analogy of asking that question would be the same kind of analogy as asking a person on your planet who has a house underneath an airport if there's an airplane overhead. From time to time, yes, of course there is, because I'm in the flight path. So In a sense, there are flight paths all over your planet and ships coming and going or stopping and observing or doing various things all the time. Whether you can perceive them or not is a matter of whether or not it's important for you to do so at that moment and the degree of vibrational similarity you may have to those particular beings passing by. Make sense?
Yes. So,
does this help you?
Yes.
And so,
is it possible to get an invitation to visit your ship?
Understand this. We are always, always, always beaming that energy and invitation to you all. You don't always answer. The idea, however, is that that happens at the right place at the right time. There is a timing to these things when it's truly beneficial and appropriate for all. All those appointments have already been made on a higher level. The only way to miss such an appointment is to spend time wondering if you will miss the appointment. That's the paradox. If you just get on about your life and be who you are as fully as you can, you will become the person with whom the appointments were made.
Yes.
Make sense?
Yes.
So don't worry about it. You don't have to ask. All the invitations have already been sent. All the invitations have already been answered. If, in that sense, it is relevant for your life, it will unfold as long as you are being the best you can be. So you don't have to worry about it or think about it. Just get on with your life. Yes?
Yes.
Does
very
that help
good.
you?
That does.
Why, thank
you so much for
You are
being
welcome
here.
so
Yes.
much.
Hello, Bashar.
And you good day.
You too. Now that Andromeda Council contactee Tulloch and Franco de Nicola have said that Mother Earth has a planet, has ascended into fourth dimensional density, what will it take for humanity as a species to ascend into fourth dimensional density to the point where we will realize that time is an illusion, we don't need to have sex to reproduce, we don't need to eat to reproduce, and we can sleep less and all the other things that come along with being a truly fourth dimensional human?
Fourth density human.
Yeah, that's what I
You're
mean.
already a fourth dimensional human because you have 3 dimensions of space and 1 of time.
Right.
Density is a different thing.
Yeah.
You could look at the idea of dimension, in a sense, as a country, and density as states within that country. You can have the idea of third density and fourth density within the physical fourth dimensional space-time reality. Coincidentally, when you cross from the idea of fourth density to fifth density, you will actually also simultaneously be crossing into the fifth dimension. We, as a civilization, ourselves, are in the process of going from fourth density to fifth density, and this is why we are becoming less and less and less physical. You are going from third density into fourth density, but you will remain in physical reality as a species for about another 1,000 years or so. Over the course of that time, you will find yourself changing in ways that will allow you to refine your energy, accelerate your energy, where some of the things you needed to do before as a physical being will no longer be necessary, similar to what we have experienced, because we no longer eat, we no longer sleep. Our reproduction is handled energetically, very differently than it used to be. So you are heading in that direction. It will probably take you at least a couple of 100 years as an entire society to begin to show more and more and more of that. But what's your hurry?
There is no hurry. Just live life to the fullest, I guess.
You are all eternal, infinite beings. You know the timing of the transformation that is taking place on your planet. There is no rush. It's all working out. And again, all you need to do, as I said, it's the entire formula, is act on your highest excitement to the best of your ability, and then allow yourself to have no assumption as to what the outcome ought to be. That's all you need to do to experience the timing of the unfolding of all these changes. Now, it's possible that separate individuals may sometimes be a little bit ahead of the curve, and so it's possible that certain individuals will start to exhibit some of those things a little bit before other individuals, but again, that's all right. You're not going to go faster or farther ahead than will serve the collective whole you agree to be of service to. Make sense?
Yes, it does.
You won't leave anyone behind, so to speak. Does that help?
Yes, it does.
Does that answer your question, then?
Yes, it does.
Why, thank you.
Hello, Bashar.
And you good day. Speak up, speak up.
This is Kelly.
Oh, all right, if you insist.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for your ebullience and your expansion and your permission to become more passionate and fully uniquely myself.
Thank you for yours. Remember, we are only acting as a reflection of your own higher mind.
I have issues with feeling limited in my ability to interface with mundane things like
Define mundane. And why are you defining them as mundane?
Because of my spirit seems to drop whenever I have to do anything that grounds me into this dimension in
All
terms
right,
of
but
my...
you do understand that the only reason you're having that experience is because of your definition of that experience. You understand that?
Yes.
Are you sure?
No.
Thank you. Thank you for your honesty.
Yeah.
Understand that as a physical being, your psyche is made up of a prism of three things: beliefs, definitions, emotions, feelings, and thoughts, actions. You understand?
Yes.
And the idea is that it all starts with the definition. It all starts with your belief. Some of your beliefs are conscious, some of them are unconscious. The idea is to get in touch with what those definitions are, because if you're experiencing a reality in a way that you don't prefer to, the only way you could be experiencing it that way is you have a definition of it that makes it feel that way. Because all feelings are secondary to belief. You cannot have a feeling about anything of any kind without first defining that thing in some way, shape, or form. If I throw a word at you that you don't know the definition to, you have no idea how to feel about it, do you?
What can I do to dismantle my...
I'm getting there.
Okay.
The idea is you have to get in touch with what that definition is. So, one way, it's not the only way, you can use your imagination to alter this however you wish, but one way is to ask a very pointed question of yourself. When you find yourself in a situation where you are feeling limited, ask yourself, what would I have to believe is true about myself in relation to the situation in order to generate the feeling I'm experiencing? If you are willing to hear the answer, then in some way, shape, or form, the answer will present itself to you about what the belief is. It might come in your thoughts, it might come in your inspirations, it might come in your dreams, it might come in the synchronicity in your life, it may come in a variety of ways. But if you're willing to receive the answer and find out what that definition is, and you're not afraid to find it out, you will find out what that definition is. Now, once you have discovered consciously a definition within you that is actually out of alignment with who you prefer to be, you will instantly recognize two things. All right, three things. You will recognize that it is nonsensical, illogical, and it doesn't belong to you. It came from someone else. Your parents, your friends, your school, your society, what have you. As soon as you identify a belief that isn't yours, that's out of alignment with your vibration, you will instantly see it's illogical, it makes no sense to hold on to it whatsoever. It belongs to someone else who gave it to you that you've been holding on to all this time. And as soon as it appears that way, you'll drop it, unless you have another belief that tells you you should hold on to it for some other reason. And if that's the case, then you need to ask the question again and find out what that belief is. But as soon as you find out what the core belief is supporting all the secondary ones, and you let go of the core belief, all the secondary ones attached to it will also fall away. The only thing that weighs you down is luggage that doesn't belong to you. That's your first clue. If you're feeling weighed down, if you're feeling limited, you are carrying around a definition that someone else gave you that you don't realize you're still carrying around, lugging it around, getting tired. So the idea is to find out, oh, this isn't my luggage. Drop it. Give it back to the person. You don't want to steal their belief. You don't want to be a belief thief. Right?
Right.
So find out what it is, identify the belief, and then once you realize it's not yours, unless you have another rationale for holding on to it, it will dissipate. That's how it works. But first you have to understand that you have bought into these definitions and you're defining these things as mundane. As soon as you give it that definition, that's the only effect you can get out of it. Because again, remember, every situation, are you paying attention?
I'm doing my best.
All right. Every situation, without exception, is fundamentally neutral. There is no built-in meaning to anything. The greatest gift you have all been given in life I know this sounds funny in your language, is that life is meaningless. It is devoid of automatic meaning. They're just neutral props, neutral circumstances. You have all been designed as the meaning givers in life. You're what gives life meaning. So the meaning you put into a situation is what determines the effect you get out of it. Remember the fourth law, what you put out is what you get back? It's a law. So if you find that you're feeling mundane, you must be defining your relationship to the situation that's happening as mundane. And so the only effect you can get back is a reflection of the mundane. If, however, you understand and choose to buy into the idea that every single thing that appears in your life is there for a positive reason, to serve you, to learn from, to become a more expanded being and remember more of who you are, then you will give it that meaning, that interpretation, that positive energy. And no matter what anyone else's idea or anyone else's intention in that situation may be, the only effect you will experience from that same situation that serves double duty is the positive one based on the meaning you have chosen to give it. So the choice is in your hands. The total control is in your hands. Do you understand this concept?
I understand the concept. I'm particularly inflicted in the area of finances and creativity, if you have anything to share.
I am particularly inflicted. Notice the negative definition.
Feels that way.
I know, and what did I say about feeling?
That I need to know why I feel it and get rid of the
You
programming.
need to understand the definition that generates the feeling. I understand it feels that way. I'm telling you why it feels that way. Things don't just automatically feel a certain way. They only feel the way they do because you're defining them that way. So if you don't prefer the feeling of that limitation or that quote-unquote infliction, don't define the circumstance as an infliction. Do you understand?
Yes.
When you use the ideas of negativity, problems, obstacles, limitations, that's what you're going to get. But if you say, all right, here's a situation. It's neutral. It has no meaning, no power over me, nothing. It's a challenge. That's fine. Of course you will have challenges. If you don't have challenges and positive forms of resistance, you don't grow. So the idea is to look at this in a positive way. Oh, there's a situation here where this particular thing is not manifesting. And that's a challenge. How exciting that I am presented with this challenge, because now it's an opportunity to face this challenge in a positive way and expand my understanding and relationship to the idea of abundance and creativity. That's the response that will allow you to have a positive experience in that situation. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But if you sit there and go, well, I'm so limited, I'm so inflicted, I just can't do anything, how can you expect any other kind of an experience other than one that carries infliction, limitation, and lack of creativity? Now, please do understand again that when we talk about the idea of watching your definitions and clarifying your definitions, you really have to be very, very precise. I have now at this point, up to this moment in the dialogue, used very colloquial terms so that you will understand what we are saying. But many of the ways that we actually said things are not as precise as they could be. Here's how to take it even further. When you say things like, oh, I'm experiencing a lack of abundance, a lack of finance, a lack of creativity, that's not possible. There is no such thing as a lack of trust, a lack of abundance, a lack of creativity, a lack of confidence. There is no such thing. There is, however, an absolute trust in lack, an abundance of lack. You see where we're going? It's not that you lack abundance, it's that you have an abundance of lack because of your belief system. It's not that you lack creativity, it's that you're using your creativity to make it seem like you're not creative, but that's a very creative thing to do. It's analogous to when people on your planet say, well, we only use 10% of our brains. Nonsense! You're using 100% of your brain to make it seem like you're using 10%. That's the difference. And when you start to have more precise definitions about these things in the way we have just described, you will see then that you don't have to struggle and suffer so much, because it's not like you have to learn how to trust. It's not like you have to learn to be abundant. It's not like you have to learn to be creative. You just have to use your trust, your abundance, and your creativity in the direction you prefer instead of in the direction that you don't. It's that simple. You don't have to learn these things. They're automatic. You always trust something to be true. If you didn't, you would have no experience at all. You understand?
Yes.
So, let go of the idea that you are not creative and not abundant, and watch your definitions, because again, I understand what you mean on your planet when you say that there is not necessarily the finance there, but the idea is don't just limit it to the concept of money. Money is all well and good as a symbol of abundance on your planet, but it's not the only one. If someone were to come along and give you a gift, would you turn it down because you didn't, in that sense, pay for it?
No.
Well, that's a form of abundance, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, then why insist on only one form of abundance being necessary to accomplish something when other forms of abundance might actually help you get there quicker? Why shut the door to all other ways abundance could come and all other forms in which it could come by insisting that only one way is valid, as your society has taught you? Do you want to really limit your abundance?
No.
Then don't focus on it being only money. Open up to all forms of abundance, and where money is necessary, money will flow. But where other forms of abundance may actually be the path of least resistance, that's what will happen. But your insistence that it can only happen this way will close the door to you ever experiencing it coming through another doorway. Make sense?
Yes.
Is this helping you lighten up a bit?
Yes, very much. Thank
Please
you.
remember, all of you, the true path to enlightenment is to lighten up on yourselves
Yes.
first. You understand?
Yes.
Is this helping you?
Yes.
Do you feel a little bit more abundant, a little bit more creative, a little bit more free to be who you choose to be?
Yes.
Do you feel you can let go of baggage that you don't need to carry around anymore?
Yes.
All right, well, thank you for choosing that. And remember, you are choosing that. It has nothing to do with the fact that we've said it to you. It has everything to do with the fact that you've said it to yourself, and that you choose to buy into that instead of something that's out of alignment with the vibration you know is true for you. Make sense?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.